Hello, welcome to the first ever TalkSeagulls show. 10 years after starting TalkSeagulls, we're finally here, courtesy of Grand Central. And joining me is not just one, but two Albion legends and the true meaning of the Amex Stadium. I'm joined with a Spanish hero to begin with, Andrea Orlandi. Thank you for joining me, mate. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thank you, Ryan. It's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
And Will, the main man of the Amex, the person who scored against Doncaster. When you say Amex, you think of Will Buckley, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's good to still be invited back down here and obviously be remembered for that. Obviously, first game, it was unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, a lot's changed since obviously all of that happened. But we will get back into the past. But before we do, we need to mention the now. Brighton are now in the Europa League. European competitions, as a Brighton fan in itself, is insane. But not to mention, obviously, our young players. Jack Hinchelwood, obviously now on the back of last night. Andrea, we were talking about young players just before with Ansu Fati now in the squad. What do you think of not just Jack Hinchelwood himself, but Brighton in improving young players and reaching the top level?
Well, I think that, for any club, it's absolutely crucial to have a good academy, a good setup. If you look at my own experience at Barcelona, a huge club, going through a difficult moment, financially especially, and they're still, being competitive because of La Masia, which is the academy. So they're still able to bring young players up to the first team, and they show they're ready to compete and play. So it's the same here. I know how the club works. I'm very close with Calde, who is now the under-18 coach.
Yeah.
I've been at his training sessions, the whole setup of how they prepare, how close they are to the first team. So you now see, an evolution at the club where in our time, Bucks was a little bit harder, to get young players close to us. To the first team, but now it's a natural thing, and more players, and hopefully players born in Brighton, like Hinchelwood, will play the part, and obviously last night was a special moment for everyone, wasn't it?
Yeah, for sure. And well, I mean, just looking back on before to now, I mean, how much has that changed? You mentioned obviously young players coming in, but just in general, the whole sort of thing works, doesn't it? You've got to blend between experience and youth. I mean, is that important as a young player to have people to look up to, like Pascal Gross, etc.?
Yeah, I think, just obviously what Andrea was saying, I think just before I left, when we moved to the new training ground, one key thing was there was bringing the 23s kind of dressing room and canteen area. They brought it all together. So the first team was on one side, the 23s on the other, and it was all kind of together, which showed what they were trying to do for the future. And I think now that's what it's leading into. I think usually young players get a chance when the first team's not doing that well, or there's been a lot of injuries. Where with Brighton, they seem to be doing better, and they're still bringing the young players through, which I think shows how good these young lads are. And I think if they're getting the chance when the team's playing well, it always makes it easier as well. When you play in a better team, it makes it so much easier for you as an individual. And I think that's what's happening with these young lads now.
And the coaching staff, I think, is crucial as well. How do you welcome these young players? And how much pressure you put on them? And the experienced players need to be good as well, because it wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't like this.
They've got to be welcoming, haven't they?
Exactly.
So if they're not, if they're a bit like who are these lads?
Yeah.
Treat them not very well. We'll soon get rid of these.
Is that how it works? And so you actually look up to these experienced players when you first join a club. It's like, if they don't welcome you, it's hard to settle. Is that
right?
I
think 100%. As a young player, if you go into a dressing room and you feel that kind of coldness straight away, it puts that extra pressure on to...
It's interesting.
You're not really wanted there. At the end of the day, I think you're taking someone else's spot in a way. I think these days it's a bit more accepted, but I think when we was coming through, certainly in the lower leagues, people have got bills to pay. If you're not playing as a 30-year-old who's got a mortgage and this young lad's coming through trying to take your spot, sometimes it's that inside your own team, there's that kind of competition which can be a bit not very good sometimes.
When I started, obviously I was playing for Alaves in Spain. When I made my debut, the club captain was out of the squad. So you can imagine the reception I got when I got back into training from the captain. Basically, he made my life hell. And this is how it used to be. And then I always thought I will never be the same. I just want to be, a veteran player that helps young players coming through. I mean, of course, it's competitive. Of course, you want to play, but you need to help each other, to be successful. And I think that nowadays, even with the mental health issue, being spoken, where before it was like, showing a weakness if you were afraid of talking to a player or of showing, insecurity. Now it's completely different. I think it's hugely important because the first thing you do, okay, I'm a left-footed player. You look at the player that's playing every week, and you want to be like him. So this is the player you look up to. And if he's not leading by example, sometimes it's heartbreaking. So I had that feeling when I made my debut in professional football.
I'm glad you mentioned that because it's not just the players that make it, is it? It's the players that don't as well, and what happens afterwards. I mean, that's probably one thing that a lot of football doesn't talk about. I mean, you both work with young players. Well, what's it like when players don't make it? How do they cope then? Is it a bit of an unforeseen path, isn't it? I suppose.
Yeah, because obviously, all everyone wants to do is be a professional footballer.
Yeah.
If you're brought through an academy or a school of excellence, your aim is, or your thought process is, I'm going to be a professional footballer. And when you get to 16, you don't get your YT, or you get to 18 and then you get released after your YTS, like your whole world comes down. And then they don't know what the next transition is. Obviously, they want another chance. Sometimes it's hard. We're just talking then. It's hard to get players into other clubs because they've already been released once. So I think there's a lot more awareness about people being released and what the next. At the end of the day, they've got the rest of their life to look forward to, but they don't see it like that. They've been released and they've failed to reach their dream, and then they're like, what do I do now? Whereas I think there's a lot of awareness on them kind of players now being released that there's a whole life ahead of them. They need to be looked after well. I think it's, I don't want to bring Crystal Palace up, but I think that they are doing something and paving the way when players get released. At the end of the day, they're human beings, and in football sometimes everybody's treated just as a footballer and not as a human, where it's being a bit more highlighted now that you realise these lads have got the whole life ahead of them. Even if they don't become a professional footballer, there's a lot of other things that you can go into, whether it's staying in football, what we're doing now with the agency, whether it's coaching, different paths. It's just expanding the other sides of the game, psychology. So it's just, if you don't become a professional footballer, there's a lot of other paths that you can go down. So I think these lads are being educated on that now, and which is a massive thing going forward.
The problem is when football is your plan A, B, C, D, and you don't have anything else, and not only yours but your family's as well. So when you got that pressure from your family, and when you're talented, when I first started, I was probably the last on the list that you would have thought it will be a professional player. I had teammates with more talent, but no one made it into pro football. It was sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's just resilience, and you need to work hard. I mean, you need to put that effort in, and some players didn't do that. So what's next? When your family is expecting you to deliver financially, that pressure plays a part. So what I'm trying to do with young players is prepare them and prepare their families to have a plan B if football doesn't work. If you look at the stats, the number of players that made it into professional football is minimal. It's just so.
I think it's hard to accept as a footballer. All I thought I was going to be was a professional footballer. And luckily I made it, but if I didn't, I don't know. I didn't want to listen to what you're going to be if you're not a professional footballer, but you have to. But it's hard to convince these young lads these days, because at the end of the day, you're chasing a dream, aren't you? And if you take your eye off that dream, maybe that might affect you a little bit, but then realistically, you've got to kind of plan for a bad event of not becoming a professional footballer.
The funny thing is, this is the mindset you have to
have
if you want to make it.
Yeah, you're encouraged to have that mindset where single-minded, this is what I want to do, and that is probably the way to be. But on the flip side, how do you then concentrate on something that's going to be after football if you don't make it? It's just a very difficult situation, really.
And then what we have to do, as football agents or people working with young players, is be there if it doesn't happen. It's not like, okay, you're not useful anymore, so I don't want to listen to you. I won't pick up the phone anymore, and because this happens. So it's about helping them, to chase a new career. It could be anything related to football or something different. You never know, but obviously clubs need to do more as well. I work closely with FC Barcelona. They've got the Former Players Association. Whatever level you played at, even if you haven't played at the first team, they will help you financially if you need to. They will do courses for you to prepare you, and that's something that I'm really involved in, and I'm helping young players that didn't make it through to, if you want to go into the agency world, into coaching, into anything, to have a future.
Yeah, that's good, because it's not just I suppose it's trying to paint the picture that it's not just being a footballer that's in football, which is difficult because it's, even, I mean, I'm the only one that's not a footballer around this table right now. My dream was to do exactly what you guys did. So I had to go the second best option, which is sitting in front of a camera, which is all right.
And you're doing all right, man. You're doing
all right. But I mean, I wanted to score goals in front of the North Stand and celebrate. But like Jack Hinshaw did last night, probably dreamt exactly the same moment. But yeah, it's about sort of finding that balance of, when do you stop thinking? Did you ever have that plan B, Andrea? I mean, I know you say you didn't, but did you have that plan B option in your head? Did you ever think that you wouldn't be a footballer?
I always thought I was going to make it into professional football. So that was my mindset. But I was good. My school degrees were good. So I started a university career. So I knew that I was ready for whatever it would come. So, and during my career, I had times where I thought I would retire now, when I wasn't enjoying myself and I was ready, to face the world and the reality. But luckily enough, I was a pro for 17 years. I managed to score at the Amex and enjoy myself. And obviously, it all depends on your upbringing, really, your education, and how do you face your life and your career. And obviously, I took things one at a time, so I wasn't really thinking about the future. Even when I retired, okay, what's next now? Yeah. So it's not like, yes, I had a plan, but I wanted to see what life would bring up, and obviously this is what I'm doing now, just enjoying life and still, close to football.
Yeah, you mentioned scoring at the Amex. So I think it's a good time to bring it over to a bit more fun, where we look back on some old memories, because you two haven't seen each other since you left, and I think that's brilliant. I saw as you walked in, it was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in like 10 years, which is great. So you mentioned scoring at the Amex. I think it's quite interesting to start with Will Buckley scoring at the Amex, because what a moment, Will. I know we've probably gone over it 100 times. You probably still think about it every single day of the week, but that goal against Doncaster, before we get into the dressing room talk, just talk through it for the fans that are watching.
Yeah, I think obviously, that day, it was unbelievable, wasn't it? And I think obviously just looking at I'm going to the trailer of the Standoff All documentary and just showing just little clippets from obviously that day. It's just more the emotion of the day, I think. Coming back home, getting their own ground, waiting so long to have somewhere to call home again. And I think it worked out unbelievably perfect, didn't it? Yeah. But even if we wouldn't have won that game on the first, the celebration was there anyway. It was just being back at the Amex, or just arriving at the Amex. And I think we'd had the game the week before, I think, to kind of open the stadium against Spurs. I can't remember if we beat them or not. We played very well. And that just kind of settled us in, I think, to kind of be, this is where we belong. And obviously the day will just live with me forever, and obviously hopefully Brighton fans forever. But yeah, it speaks for itself, the emotion of that day, and seeing people like crying in the stands before the game. And I was thinking, you go out an hour before just to do the warm-up. There's usually nobody there, is there? Maybe like a few kids at the front trying to get autographs or whatever. It was like half full, the stadium already, and people just enjoying being in the Amex.
Yeah.
And what a stadium it is, and they're extending on it now, and it just... I need to get back there because I've not been back since I left, but I can just imagine just watching it on telly now, you know how good the place feels. And Brighton was always, even when things weren't going so well, the fans always stuck with you at Brighton. And I think that's what sets Brighton apart from all the other clubs I've played with. Obviously, all football fans get frustrated when the teams are losing, but it never transferred onto the pitch. You didn't feel when we was playing at the Amex, even if we was losing. I think that helps teams massively. And I think the confidence you get from that, because there's nothing worse playing in front of your home fans if you're getting beat and you're getting booed off at half time or something like that. It's like, it just drains you. And I've been at clubs like that, whereas at Brighton, that was never the case, was it?
No, true. Absolutely true. I can speak, when I joined the club after 5 years at Swansea, the connection I felt with fans over here was instant, really.
That's good.
And it was different. And
I think they just love the players, and that was the difference, wasn't it? I think some clubs, they have the favourite one or two players that they love.
You're right.
But Brighton fans, they knew every player, even players that weren't in the squad every week. You could see that the fans knew who he was. So I think that makes a difference. It was just like a family feel to the club.
And I was listening to Boquita speaking about his goal against Doncaster.
What does that mean? What does that
Boquita,
mean?
this is how Gas Poyet used to call him, and because it brings back to the phone call I got from Gas before signing for the club, which was 2.5 hours of conversation. Asking me about absolutely everything. Going
He could
through.
talk, couldn't he?
Yeah, he could talk, man. My breakfast routine, what I had for lunch, if I smoke, if I drank, if I had a girlfriend, whatever. And he said, I can see you playing on the left. You will play on the left because on the right we got Will Buckley, Boquita. And he's unbelievable. You will see, blah, blah, blah. I said, yeah, well, I know something about him. I knew about this Doncaster goal. You'll keep talking forever. And then when I turned up to Brighton, the first few training sessions, he wasn't the best trainer, Will Buckley.
I used to get a lot of stick for that, didn't I?
What was not good about it? What was it?
I mean, I was trying. I think what I needed was space. And if we're playing small games, that's Andrea. That's Spanish, in it. Like, I needed grass to run into. I needed the ball over the top. Whereas obviously technical players is like.
And I thought, hold on, okay, this is Boquita, okay, the great Will Buckley. And I want to see him playing. And then when I saw him playing, I thought, yes, this is what Gas Poyet was talking about. Absolutely unplayable on his day. A great character to have in the dressing room. But the first few training sessions, I thought, this is not what Gas was telling me. If we're gonna
have signed here.
If you look back on as you two as teammates, what's the sort of first memories that come back? You say about the Boquita thing. Was there any little insiders, perhaps, that Brighton fans would like to know? Will, was there anything that strikes you?
Well, we were just saying how good of a squad we had, and I think that was testament to obviously the year before Andrea came was the League One team that won the league. That they kind of kept that core of the team, then going into the first Championship season, and again that was them 2 years at Brighton, my first year, and then obviously when Andrea came, his first year and my second year were just unbelievable. Just to be around that squad, because you had the players who had got promotion, like obviously Liam Bridcut, Barnesy, Matt Sparrow, like players like that, Marcus Painter, Casper Ankerin, who's still at the club now doing the goalkeeping.
No, not anymore.
Has he gone now? But obviously, people that was just there for seemed that they was there forever, and they got it. They knew what the club meant to the fans and stuff like that. And then it transferred into the second season where most of them stayed, but then we started adding quality like Andrea, Vicente, Bruno, David Lopez, and then that's when the team really came together. So we had probably the core of the English lads who knew what the club was about, and then we brought quality in. And then that second season, we become fourth or something in the Championship, and
quite high.
Obviously didn't work out in the playoffs. But like you're saying, we should have got promoted that season.
Yeah,
100% should have got promoted.
Absolutely, but with Boca, it was great because Gas used to tell me and tell everyone we need Boca on the right, and it was true because we needed that outlet, that speed on the right wing, and then on the left it would play me or Banji at times if I was playing in midfield. Kazenga would come on, for the last 20-30 minutes, but it was funny at times where things weren't working at halftime. And Gas would come in, and the first thing he would say straight away was Boquita. Boquita, give us something. This is how Gas used to speak. Like you would look at him like,
I'm just doing nothing. I'm just doing nothing here. I need to produce something. But
because we needed him, because we had quality players, but obviously I didn't have the pace, and he was the one on the right creating havoc. And
I think
problems.
we probably had a good balance there where. We all knew each other's game, didn't we? Obviously, when I was playing with Caldi or Bruno at right back, they knew what I wanted. On the left-hand side, obviously, Wayne Bridge as well, actually. He came to the club.
Quality, wasn't he?
We was like tiki-taka down the left, Spanish, and then just speed down the right. So we had that little balance of... Because you need that different... Sometimes in games where certain things are not working, you need to try something different. So I think because we had that balance, I think it worked out quite well, really.
Yeah, absolutely. But still, during the season and even the following season, your training was still the same.
Still no good.
Still getting there about the training.
No, in games he was unplayable, but he didn't like training. He said he tried, but he never tried. Let's be honest. But we had the same with Leo. Leo in training. Remember when Leo
he was
turned up?
worse. He was worse than me.
He was worse.
Was
than
he
you,
worse?
Well, actually, yeah. When we signed Leo, the first training session, I think was it with Dean? Wasn't it?
No, it was at the Amex and it was snowing.
Oh, was it the Amex?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think I was going. You know, you don't like to talk about your own teammates or other players and slating, but you're thinking, where have we got him from?
We spent all our
so
money
bad
on him.
But then he got to the game again, and then I mean, what a player
Goal scorer.
Leo was.
He came, it was snowing, and he had these Puma boots, and they were horrible. They were like plastic boots, and he couldn't feel his toes. So basically, his first touch, it just went 5 yards over, and then the second pass I gave to him, first touch was horrible again, and we all looked at each other thinking,
Really?
not sure, because we paid. I think the club paid over 3 million for it.
Decent, good
So
money.
he was the signing, to get promotion.
I remember when Joa came, it was a long process as well. I think.
Yeah, it was
we had
long.
to
Yeah,
really
it was
go
long.
through the international
It
clearances.
was Gus had to decide between him and Virgil van Dijk. You know this story?
Yes, Celtic.
He
Oh, no,
was
not
at
Celtic.
Groningen.
Groningen,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
that's what it. Yes.
And he thought we need a striker more than a defender. Did you
true?
know that?
No, I didn't know
you
that,
didn't
no.
know that, Boca?
Wow.
And obviously we spent the money on Leo. So after the first few training sessions, they've thrown the money out of the window. But the first game was Arsenal, I think, in the FA Cup. First cross comes
Diving
in,
header.
boom, he scores ahead of Mertesacker.
In the air.
Yeah, and he said, okay, he's a game player. So,
He
doesn't like
tried.
training.
He tried teaching me how to head it once because he was like, "Why are you heading it?" 'Cause I was never good in the air, and I think I used to come onto the ball and try and head it like that, and he was like, "No, like throw your head at the ball," and I was like, "Trying." I'm like, "Yeah, it's better actually," but still, I mean, I remember I clipped. I always remember a game. I think it was against Burnley at home, and I've gone down the right, and I've just got to the byline. I've just clipped it, and it's like a nothing cross because I just run to the byline, clipped it just in the air, and he's just come onto it from near the edge of the box. And he's headed it into the far post. I thought, how has he got that power on a header like that?
I'm so glad you've mentioned that.
Unbelievable.
I'm so glad you've mentioned that because I believe that was the first ever post on TalkSeagulls for that game, the Burnley game, which is insane because when you mentioned Leonardo Joa, I thought he was the one who scored the first goal, which is insane. And then obviously all that time's gone. And I wanted to mention this actually, Andrea, just while we're on the subject. You were the first person that interviewed on TalkSeagulls. I mean, it's insane when you think about it. I mean, I was only 18 in lockdown doing
Yeah, I
other
remember.
things,
I
so
remember. Yeah.
It's crazy how much has changed.
No, absolutely. But you keep doing well.
Yeah.
You keep growing. No, it's great. But with Leo, I mean, everyone that came to the club, even though, we were looking at each other, we're not sure about him.
That's
They were
insane.
welcomed. The dressing room, the togetherness we had was absolutely fantastic. We had moments, in that season that I remember really well, and they were great. Remember Wolves away? Do you remember that game?
Go on, tell us about Wolves away.
We played Wolves away. I think we were losing 2-1, and then they were down to 10 men.
Yeah.
And Gus changed the team completely. I was playing as a fullback, so we were all in trying to get back into the game. We were 2-3 up. We went 2-3 up, and in the last corner of the game, they scored. So basically, we drew.
I feel like I remember
So in the change room after the game, it was hell.
Yeah, going mental.
Tano, the assistant coach, was kicking doors.
Yeah.
Gus started saying, I don't want agents calling me, asking for new contracts. It's like playing with kids.
Really?
So on our way back to Brighton, we had Peppa Pig for 5 hours on
Peppa Pig.
on the screens.
So that was obviously that was Tarico Tano, and he was sat there. He put Peppa Pig on. As soon as we got on, so when we got on the coach on the way home, and usually it might be Sky Sports News or a
Sports.
game or something.
Yeah.
And we was all thinking, why is that on? I think it was all just going.
And the volume up as
What's
well.
going on?
It was honestly,
So we sat, and
it
then
was terrible.
Tano was at the front, and he had the Sky remote there, and he was just leaning, he was watching it like that, and he didn't look. When you got on the coach, usually you go past the manager or the assistant, and they let on to you or say whatever, just make eye contact. He just sat there. Everybody walked by, he just sat there watching the telly. Didn't say anything. So he was like about an hour in back home, and he was like, we sent Gordon Gray. We said, Gigi, like someone's gonna have to get this off.
Please, because the volume was up as well. Honestly.
Really?
So Gordon, obviously being the captain, went down and went to Tano like, the lads don't really want to watch this. Can we turn it over? And Tano just didn't even look at him. Just carried on watching Peppa Pig. And he's like, that's because they said we're like kids or something. Just a little comment in. We're like children. We can't see the game out or whatever. They're trying to get a message across. And it was like, pretty funny now when you look back at it. But at the time, we was all like, why is
We
this
had
on? Why is
Peppa
it
Pig for
going on?
4 hours, honestly.
4
On our
hours?
way down, they didn't turn it off. It was Peppa Pig all the way down.
But that, and that
from
was
Wolverhampton to
that
Brighton,
was Gus and Tano just all over, wasn't it? Like,
And then the next day,
Just wanted to win so
because
much.
I think we played on a Saturday, we had a game on Tuesday, and he said, I got pictures because the last goal was a corner.
Yes.
So we had who we had to mark. I wasn't at the near post. If the ball went over me, I had to go back to the post.
oh yeah, I remember, yeah.
So basically, I did my job. So I cleared the ball off the line and someone scored. But we had pictures of the corner. So like 1 picture, 2 pictures. If you weren't doing your job, you're not playing on Tuesday. So he went, okay, Orlandi, let's have a look at the pictures. Not even a video, pictures. Okay, you did your job. So I was safe. It's like, yeah, but Gus was like this.
Yeah.
We had like simple rules. Mark in the box, remember?
No tackling in the
No
box.
tackling in the box and follow the runner. Was like, so if you weren't doing those, you're not playing. So you know.
Really?
So if we concede from a corner, it's your man. You're not playing.
Wow.
So it was simple, but at least you could take responsibility
Yeah,
from.
there's no blaming others then, is there?
Exactly.
I think the tackling in the box was a massive one, wasn't it? Like, people, like, you want to speak to my mate over there, if you tell him a rule, you're not allowed to tackle in the 18-yard box, they'd be thinking, what? Like, what are you talking about? But it kind of did make sense because giving a penalty away, you conceded, aren't you? If there's a chance and you dive in, it's not worth that risk. Scoring a goal is not easy in open play. If you give a penalty away, you've conceded. So I think it did make sense, and I don't think we mustn't have given many penalties away because nobody.
I think
dived
we
in the
didn't
box or
concede
something
from
like that.
corners either because people were like frightened.
So scared.
Yeah.
So we were scared from
Yeah.
conceding.
But
But
you actually don't need to tackle in the box. If you get your body in the way and just jockey and just get in front of the shot, you don't need to dive in. Sometimes you see some penalties that give away these days, and you think they're a bit, from top players as well. You think
To dive in.
Why put
Yesterday,
yourself in
prime
that?
example. I
Yeah.
don't know if you saw the goal.
Yeah.
Van Hecker, he sort of pulled him. He's obviously
And
been
it's
lost
not worth, even if somebody gets past you or whatever, I mean, it's probably natural instinct to give them a little tug or trip them if they get past you and you think they're going to score, but it's really not worth that risk, I don't think. And that was probably a good rule, really, from Gus.
It's interesting to hear that, like the tactics that go into this, because obviously I'm sure it's completely different now and they probably got different. But we seem to now give away some very questionable goals at times.
Yeah.
For all the beautiful football that happens, it's the always the most silly goals would happen. So was that quite drummed in from Gus Poyet to not give away silly things,
I
silly
think so.
fouls?
That used to annoy him a lot.
Yeah.
didn't it?
Yeah.
If you're giving cheap goals away, it's
it
annoying
was
for
that.
players, isn't it, as
Yeah.
well?
Well,
your
yeah, of course.
teammates
Yeah,
and-
yeah.
But
we couldn't play like Brighton nowadays because we didn't have the players like Gordon Greer. You couldn't really ask him to push on and live 50 yards at the back because he wasn't that player.
Yeah.
I think the
so-
game's changed so much
and
on
the
it as
game's
well.
changed, so
since-
we had to kind of be balanced on that department. So we wouldn't leave the spaces that Brighton lives now, but because you have to, if you want to play attacking, somehow you're going to be more exposed defensively. So you do see Brighton conceding at times goals that they wouldn't have to, but this is how they want to play, and it's about scoring one more goal than the opposition, and this is what I like. This is the style of football that I enjoy watching.
That's the trade-off, innit? You might give them goals away, but how attacking and free they are now going forward.
Well,
and
exactly.
scoring.
I thought this was probably your sort of style, really, Will. I mean,
you'd love to play in.
You were
attacking.
rapid on that wing. I mean, chipping over. I think it was.
I think
you
that
said about
Zerbi would go crazy at it, to be honest, because I was able to watch Brighton training, and Bucks sometimes was like looking at birds or like
Still getting
to
the
the
training
trees
gigs.
at times in
I
training.
think it's quite warm down here. It's cold up north. So what's the weather? Yeah, actually, what's the training like? Obviously, you've been to the training now. I mean, imagine it's so intense now.
It's intense, and it's like
I've not really been back in that environment
I've seen
since.
once.
No, it's every detail. So it would stop.
Oh, if
It
something
would-
happens, just stop it.
It would
straight.
like get you back and just get you back into position. I could see that. Happening with you. Like with Adingra, he does it with Adingra. When he wants the winger to be in the right position. It's just the detail of that training is just unbelievable. But during our time, I think that the way we train with Gus was fantastic. And you guys, or not you specifically, but Gary Dicker or the players. Sorry, man, I'm just Gary Dicker or the players that were playing in midfield. They had football in their brains, so they knew how to make it happen. And for me, when I joined, it was so easy. So it was. I knew Boca was there. I knew I was playing in midfield with Liam Brickett behind me. Wayne Bridge as overlapping.
I think we
on the left.
knew-
It was just memorizing things,
Yeah.
and it was just I didn't even have to look. I knew where he
Yeah,
was.
when I talk to people and, even like your friends or your family, whatever, about a certain manager or whatever, what Gus did was when you was playing, you knew where everyone was. So then patterns of play, I knew if I couldn't get past my man, I know Bridcut would be there. So I turn around, Bridders is there, and then you go out the other way. You knew where everyone was going to be. And I think you see some teams now it's usually the teams that are not playing very well, it all looks off the cuff and there's no flow to it.
Is that a testament to the manager, or is that?
Yeah, I think that's all. That's all the
the
manager. I think
The manager, you think?
they have to set the foundations of how you want to play as a club or as a team, the philosophy. And I think unless that's worked on the training pitch, you can see it in the game. You can see clubs that are just kind of winging it, and you can see clubs that everybody knows where everyone's going to be at a certain amount of time. Like you say, if you get the ball, you might not even have to look. You knew I was going to be over there. You knew where Bridgie was going to be coming up, or wherever it might be. You had that. So you don't have to think. Before you get the ball, you're not thinking, right, I need to look where everybody is now. You do anyway, because that's the kind of player you was with the vision, but you kind of already knew in your brain, someone's going to be there to help me out. And I think that's a big thing when I first joined Brighton. That was like a new concept when I first joined Brighton, playing out from the back. I mean, it sounds ages ago now, but Brighton were doing it in League One when they got promoted.
I was going to ask this question. Was it Bloom's sort of foundation from back then, from even when you remember at the club? Was it, okay, it wasn't on this level that it is now, but I mean, it started from so early, you know, to almost build the club really, really progressively, slowly.
Yeah.
You'd say slowly, but not too slowly, because it's only been 10 years or so since we've really taken off.
Yeah.
But was that always there from the beginning to go from, one extreme to another? You've literally gone from, the Withdean to Europa League nights in the space of...
Well, I came obviously from Watford and I had Malky Mackay, and he was more of a manager of organisation, get behind the ball and work hard, press was his kind of philosophy, and it worked really well in a team that probably shouldn't have done so well in the Championship when I was there at Watford. I came to Brighton and I was like, what is going on here? They're playing out from the back, taking so many risks, where now we watch football and that's become normal. 10 years ago, everyone was like, you can't play it 5 yards to your centre half. It was like, get it forward. And I seen Gus as kind of like the creator. I mean, it's always like Pep's kind of thing now, but I'd never seen it before, especially in the lower leagues, where you see League 2 teams doing it now, League 1 teams. That's like the normal way of playing football now. Whereas when I first went to Brighton, it was unheard of. And the risks that we used to take at the back seemed to be like we shouldn't be doing it. But Gus just kept with it. And then eventually we got good at it. And then it was like, we're a really good team at it.
Yeah, because you just said it's taken a little bit long to be where Brighton is. Not really. And let's be honest, we could have got promoted that season with Gus.
Definitely. Probably should have done.
We should have. And I thought at the time, and I still think now, we lost a great opportunity and we were ready. So if we got promoted that season with 3-4 more players, good signings, we would have,
I agree. I actually think that's a good point, because I look at the seasons after you left, both of you.
Yeah.
It took a downturn for a year.
Didn't it, for a couple
Obviously,
of
we
years.
appointed Sami Hyypiä. That was a pretty dire season by any stretch. And then it's a rebuild. You brought in Chris Hughton. You've got to stay afloat for a year. So that's almost lost the whole season of all that progress that obviously happened before.
But you had to
got to
change
rebuild
a
again.
little bit the approach, because Tony Bloom, you said, with the foundations that we laid with Gus, we wanted to play a certain way, and then with Chris Hughton was different.
Yeah.
It was different. It was more like
Counter-attacking,
more direct, being solid, more British, let's say.
Yes.
Yes,
absolutely.
And this is how you got promoted. I mean, credit to Chris Hughton, he did a great job, but the club had to change a little bit the philosophy as well, because they had to spend a little bit more money, on big players for the Championship level in order to get to the Premier League. Whereas before it was about, being different, playing the football we used to play to get to the Premier League. Then once, the club was a Premier League club, they went back to what they wanted really, which is Graham Potter and now Roberto De Zerbi, because Brighton fans, they want to win, but it's how you win as well.
You want to win beautiful.
Exactly.
And even you look at that team back then, I think it was more than capable. by far more than capable. I mean, it was the Palace game, wasn't it, that threw it? I don't want to get onto it because I still remember it like it was yesterday. The amount of times I've been sent that Wilfried Zaha video is unbelievable, and it still haunts me. Obviously, it's all over now, but it's, as you say, it's like you've almost got to a point of so much progress. As a player, it must have been so hard to take.
I don't know how you felt, Boca. I'll ask you now. I felt super confident going into the playoff semi-final.
I was actually as well.
I mean, and after the first leg, I thought it's done. So we threw. We should have scored at Selhurst Park. We had the chances.
Yeah, we did. Yeah,
but I thought this is it. And then
I don't know with Palace, because it's always you're playing derbies, aren't you? And the way they would. Throughout the season, we was so much better. If you was like asked anyone who's a better team, Brighton or Palace, we was miles better. Their football was probably more the Chris Hughton style, the direct. They had obviously Zaha, I think Balassi or whatever.
Balassi, yeah.
But they just kind of got the ball forward. Then it was like make something happen. We was like a build up from the back, unbelievable to watch. I think neutrals would have much preferred to watch Brighton at that time. I didn't want to play Palace in the playoff semi-final. No. You know, when you're going into that last game of the season, I think we beat Wolves, didn't we? I think they ended up
we finished third in the league, didn't we?
Was it third?
And
yeah,
they
it
were
was
sixth.
third because they were sixth.
Yes.
Right, yeah. And I was always thinking, I mean, I'm confident we can beat anyone, but I don't want to play Palace because them derby games are always a bit, the game won't go as it should do. And as we've been playing throughout the season, when the pressure's on, it's hard to kind of set your standard of game in a playoff game. You know how they are in the Championship. So, I mean, after the first leg, I think we should have beat them at Selhurst Park. That was the problem. If we would have won that game 1-0 or whatever, then it would have been over. It was always in the balance, I thought.
I think Lemari did his ACL, no? On that first game.
Yeah, he got very injured.
So they didn't have Lemari.
Yeah, it was like everything was against them, and it was like, I think from the outside, everybody thought Brighton.
They celebrated the point, didn't they?
Yeah.
Sorry, the point, the draw.
Yeah.
And then, so we go into that second leg, and I just remember it, because we were very confident.
Yeah.
At the Amex, you got the home
advantage. You know what actually stands out with that? What's just remembered now. Gus was fuming. So I don't know who it was and who was in charge of this, but when we got to the ground and went out for the warm-up, everybody had them inflatable, wacky things that you whack together. And the noise.
The noise was terrible. Yeah.
It was like, obviously, the Brighton thought,
the clappers.
Bit of a celebration.
No, it wasn't clappers. It was like a thing that...
Those things.
It was just something that was making noise. And it was like, this is different. This is weird.
Yeah.
Like, this is not normal. This is not how we've played in front of all season at home. And I remember Gus, I don't know if it was before the game or after, he was going mad at it. And
no, before the game.
Was it before?
But we were like, well, what's going on? Because the noise during the warm-up, this is not the anthem.
It was just strange.
It just felt different, just from the start.
And I think even little things like that probably had an effect on the outcome. Yeah, because it changes the rhythm and the flow and your natural warm-up. So things just didn't feel right, did it, that night?
And then in the dugout, their players were fuming as well because of what happened in the dressing room.
Yeah.
So
what happened in the dressing room?
So, well, I'm going to say what I was going to say. So,
you can mention
so it's just, I'm not looking for excuses because we had the chances.
Yes,
Barnsley had two very good chances, but we missed a great chance.
But how much of that team, that style, everything about that year and that team, how much of that do you still see now in the Brighton side that is now? Is there still an identity from back then that's still here, or has it changed a bit? What do you see?
I think that
probably moved on a little bit football, hasn't it? There might be different ideas that De Zerbi's brought, but I suppose that the foundation of it is similar, isn't it?
Foundation's the same.
Play out from the back, take risks.
And this is why I think the club appointed Graham Potter first, because they wanted to play that style again. And this is how we were kind of successful in the Championship as well, without having the greatest budget, and we were competing against the best. So yes, I think that the foundations were there. The fans loved it as well. So there was a connection between us and the fans, I thought.
Yeah.
And obviously now they're taken to the next level because of the players. They've got better players, better structures, facilities, coaches, everything. So I think that De Zerbi would do a great job with us as well. Don't you think? It would make us better players as well.
You'd like to play under him?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think that training would be very rigid.
Back on the training thing,
but I learned so much, and this is what I like from coaches. I learned with Gus.
Yeah,
I hated it when a coach didn't give me nothing. That they didn't give me anything. So
I think just the way Gus's training sessions was, I improved as a player in them. 2 years under Gus and then 3 years while I was here, I probably didn't even realise I could get as good as I could get just by training intensely, possession-based football every day, winning, wanting to win in the small-sided games. I don't think I had that mindset before I came to Brighton, and how sharp, and every ball had to be, if you got it, don't give it away. And that was another big thing. I remember we played, it was after we beat Newcastle at home in the FA Cup, which obviously I was involved in, didn't get the goal, but then we played Liverpool. We played Liverpool away. I don't know if it was the next round.
No.
Oh, we played at Anfield anyway.
Played Anfield, lost
and I got took off at half time because
that was the season before. I think
the season before. We beat Newcastle twice. I think you scored.
Okay.
The season
Okay.
after.
Sorry.
Yeah, you've both got good memories about Newcastle. In fact, we'll mention Newcastle quick because obviously that goal that you scored was iconic. I think the way you scored.
It was just another unbelievable. Yeah. Sometimes I look back and I think that wasn't me. Do you know, some of the things
what happened to you?
I don't know. It's just unreal. The memories at Brighton and just something about the Amex, wasn't it? With the nights, and I think just how happy everyone, the fans were just to be there and have occasions like that because they'd never had it for years and years before that. Everything was just go out and enjoy it. Where sometimes there's a bit of pressure on teams if they get a bit of a glamorous cup tie. Let's make the most of it. It was just like Brighton was just enjoy it. We've not had this before.
And what happened with Liverpool then at half time?
So
you lost 6-1.
Yeah, we got battered 6-1, I think. So, but obviously, I played a big part in getting us to play Liverpool.
Goals, though, didn't we?
Yeah, I think Donkey scored an hat-trick.
Dunk scored.
But anyway, just the thing
goal it was as well.
We've got some good stories about Donkey as well.
Yeah, with Gus not giving the ball away, he was so adamant about that, or giving it away cheap. He tried running and it didn't work out. He was all for that. But you're playing a 5-yard pass and you give it away sloppily. He used to go mad. And I give it away 2 or 3 times in that first half at Anfield. And he took me off at half time. And I was like, obviously fuming. But that was, he didn't think, Will's played a big part in getting us to this game. Maybe, give him a little bit longer. He's not playing too well, but sticking by him because he's helped us get it. He was like, no, you give the ball away. We said to you, and I think Tano shouted on to Rico, keep the ball. Don't give it away. And I give it away again. He was like, right, hooked at half time. Yeah. And I was like, that's how ruthless he was. And then obviously I was fuming, but then training the week after, you think, right, I need to be better. So I think in a way it helped me, even though you're fuming, coming off at Anfield, a big occasion, family there, friends there.
But it happened to me the same exact thing. Really? After Newcastle, we played Arsenal in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So I don't know what I did in the league game that it came up with this with stats thing saying you've given the ball away I don't know how many times, and you've only tried to nutmeg someone 3 times. So you better step your game up.
Really?
So the only game that I didn't play even a minute was against Arsenal in the FA Cup. So it was the next one.
Right.
So he didn't play me.
Wow.
At all. And I had family coming over as well. And I had the attention as well from the media because I'd scored against Newcastle. And then
maybe managers don't like that as well. Maybe
it's
attention from outside. If you're doing well, there are other clubs looking at you. Or something. Maybe that plays a manager's mind. I don't know.
Yeah. Just to before we wrap up everything, Lewis Dunk you mentioned.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
He's a captain, obviously, absolute icon of the
legend
of the club by far, the icon of the generation.
So much, though.
Yeah,
well.
but I loved him. I told guys and I told Oscar after he's the best. I mean, he's the best we've got because of the potential, but he was sometimes, he was sleeping, basically. It was a giant sleeping all day. And
really?
I remember one episode, I don't know if you remember, before a game, we had Gordon Greer unavailable. We didn't have centre-backs, so he had to play. And Gus sometimes, he went, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write the team down, and I'm not going to put Donkey. Let's see if he reacts. So it just went, the shit went down, and Donkey wasn't there. So it went Greer or whatever, and Greer didn't even travel. And Donkey didn't react, obviously. I wouldn't have reacted either,
So Donkey probably didn't even realise.
No, he didn't realise. But he knew he was playing, and then his name wasn't up. And then Gus got mad.
What, because he didn't say anything?
Donkey,
wake up.
Because you always used to say, you don't give a flying fuck. You remember when you used to say, you're not that. This is what happens. This is why you don't play. The poor Donkey, a young Dunk. What is he gonna say? His manager got the name wrong. But anyway, it was Gus trying to wake him up because he had all the potential. And now, to see him playing, I knew I knew.
He always had the quality. You could see.
Did he?
He probably just didn't have the mentality, did he?
Yeah.
As a young player, but I think that's grown now, and obviously he's took that on, skipper, and he's grew into an unbelievable centre half. I think England international.
When I saw him like last month when I came, and he went, "You see me now? I got no fat." He said, "You remember? He was always his fat percentage was always higher than the rest." And he said, "Now look at me now." I said, "Yeah, thank you." Okay.
Finally, 10 years later,
He's always a joker.
Yeah, he was a good lad, a great lad.
that mentality sometimes helps. So, doesn't it? That laid back.
Yeah,
so when he went on, he
Yeah.
probably no pressure, not overthinking things. So sometimes that can help.
Could you see captain material in him from back then?
No, probably not. No,
I saw Premier League material for sure.
quality. Yeah.
And then, I mean, it's probably the experience that has given him the attributes to be a good captain. But a great man. And obviously, a legend of the club.
Yeah,
He
for
deserves
sure.
to be the captain.
Brighton fans have been calling for a call up for Dunk for such a long time. Then he finally got it, didn't he? Of course. But I don't know. I still feel like he could have so many more England call ups. I don't know about you guys. If he should have had perhaps more caps from an earlier date. I mean, he went from just that, as you say, a bit of a joker, a bit of a laugh, potential kid, and then he's grown with the club, become a bit of a ball playing centre back, and now he probably is the icon. If you were to paint a ball playing centre back, I'd say it's probably Lewis Dunk, and that's the one thing that probably Southgate maybe didn't see in him until recently. Andrea, do you think he could have had an earlier call up, perhaps?
Yeah, but it all depends on how you want to play. The ideas of the manager as well. So maybe Gareth Southgate's ideas are different to what Lewis Dunk can bring. I think that he's actually, he's got absolutely everything. Because of physicality of the big, British centre back. But then he adds quality. His passing is fantastic. His long range passing is fantastic as well. He can take free kicks now.
He can take free kicks now.
He always used to practice them though when he was younger.
He wouldn't get near the free kicks, so he ended up in love with them, and that's there. But then, I was at the training ground, and he was great. And against Ajax, he could have scored. Actually, he hit it pretty well. With the laces, he wants to be Cristiano Ronaldo now. So he can do absolutely everything.
Be up front soon, won't he?
Was it
up top?
Ever since back then, he was trying to take free kicks. Is it?
I think he's not technically. He's always been good,
Yes.
hasn't he? He was always like one of them, just natural. I think it comes natural that you're either really relaxed on the ball. It's more like a European style in a way, whereas a lot of British players are not so comfortable on the ball. But he always was, and I think he just needed to get a bit more just consistency and a bit more maturity into his game and mentality. I think his mentality's probably changed now. To be a captain, you've got to step into that role. There's no choice about it.
At times we did crossing and finishing, and then Danke would just hit a volley into the top corner, and we were like, "What?"
Yeah,
he did at Everton, didn't he? He got disallowed for VAR.
No, but
he
his
was always
technique
good.
has always been.
Whether it was finishing or passing or technically, he was always good. He just needed to fine tune other bits of his game, I think.
Yeah. He's. I don't even know how to describe Duncan. Only a couple of words, because it's insane. His rise, even in the last 5 years, has been insane. He went from, as you say, that player with Chris Hughton back when we first got promoted. It was, body on the line with Shane Duffy, header everything out. Potter comes in. It's all of a sudden we're playing in the back three, and he's playing passes.
I think he's a bit more composed. Like he's not as rash anymore. He used to go to ground a lot, whereas now I don't think he does. I think that going to ground as a centre back, shouldn't, like Van Dijk, when do you ever see him slide? Like he's that composure and just calming down. I think that's what Dunky's grew into. I think that's why he's got so much better as well. He's not as rash as he used to be.
Yeah, agree. So on the now, obviously Brighton, as we've said, unbelievable rise, everything that's come with it. You've seen since the beginning the foundations that's been laid. Now we're here. We've won another game, luckily, last night. I must admit, before posting this, I was thinking, oh God, we need to try and win before we come on this. But we did. And now we're sitting, well in the Premier League, but also in the Europa League, through to the knockouts. Just to sort of get your thoughts as fans now, I suppose.
As fans.
What's it like seeing the rest of the season? Do you think Brighton are going to be okay in the Europa League? How far could they get?
Well, I don't think we should set,
target.
Yeah, a target in Europe. So everything's a bonus. Yeah, just enjoy it. It's your first European campaign. I mean, I was here for the first European win ever against
Yeah.
Ajax.
So you're
I was lucky enough to be at the stadium, and it was great. I mean, to see Brighton playing against Ajax, Bucks, it was just an amazing feeling. In the Premier League now, everyone knows what they're facing when this is Brighton coming to town. So it's just...
It might change over the next couple of years where Brighton still a little bit unknown to probably a lot of teams. Obviously, people are now realising, right, they are a good team. Whereas probably last season, it was like, have they just had a lucky season where it's like, no, Brighton are a really good team now. So people might start giving a bit more respect like they do with the bigger clubs. So it might get a little bit more difficult moving forward. But at the minute, they're just playing brilliant and enjoying it, I think.
I was worried, at the end of last season, thinking... Now, what's the next step? How is the team going to respond?
High, isn't it?
Exactly. Even the Zerbi, because he's such a demanding coach. Is he going to be happy with the transfer window? And then Ansu Fati comes in, and Daoud, who's not even being that important yet in the team, but I think he's an excellent footballer, comes, and players that want to be part of what Brighton is. So it keeps improving. Where's the roof? We say in Spain.
Yeah.
Maybe. There's no roof.
Yeah, no, it's
Brighton,
true, and it keeps coming down to the same word, which even you mentioned with Dunk and etc. Pretty much everybody you've spoke about so far, it comes down to mentality. The mentality change even in the last year since the Zerbi's come in has been polar opposite to probably what it was under Potter. And that's not a slight at Potter by any means. He helped set the foundations. Whatever happened. But I mean, De Zerbi's almost pushed it to the next stage of. We want to win everything. I mean, if we go into a competition, he wants to win. And that's the difference now.
Yeah, but I watched the video on Inside, after the last game of the season when Brighton qualified for Europe. And then Tony Bloom was in the dressing room. And the Zerbi's words were, well done, guys. Well, now what are you going to bring to the chairman? Now we need players to compete in Europe.
Yeah.
So it's 1 second after qualifying.
Straight. Yeah.
Straight away.
I think Gus was a bit like that as well.
Yes.
I think that's why Gus ended up leaving. He didn't seem like... he was guaranteed we're going to improve next season. And I think top managers have that, again, mentality or vision for the future. Like, what do we need to do next season to be better again? Because I suppose, managers need to improve every year. Otherwise, they're under pressure, aren't they? I think obviously De Zerbi's set his standard now and people know how good he is. But sometimes if you do too well with a club, a bit of a one-off season, and then you drop off, it looks like you've not done as good the next season. So I think you're always looking to improve. I think it is going to be difficult for Brighton to what is the next aim, I suppose, after this season?
Champions League.
Yeah, and then
League?
that's a massive ask, isn't it? To start going, we're trying to get in the Champions League. Imagine Brighton,
but why not? Why not? Look at Villa now, the way they're competing.
Massive example at the moment. Massive example. What they've done under Emery is insane. Obviously they've got a lot more money, they're a lot bigger club, but I don't think Brighton care about that. I don't think Tony Bloom sits there and thinks we're a smaller club because it's we can still compete. We've seen.
It's about keeping the balance, though. It's always been like this at Brighton, so it's not gonna throw the money away for big names.
Yeah,
but he's always gonna keep the structure, and so the club is gonna grow naturally, doing the right things. So Champions League will eventually be a reality. I'm pretty sure. I don't know how long it's gonna take. But it's not going to be because... No, it's not a rush. Of course, just enjoy this ride. Enjoy the process.
Yeah.
But trust the process as well and trust Tony Bloom and, who's in charge, Paul Barber, because they always get it right.
They do.
So
yeah.
I think the club is in safe hands. And for us who were a small part of it, you are a bigger part of me, for in the past. For me, it's just, when I speak about Brighton, I'm so proud, everywhere I go to say I played for the club. And, it's just... Yeah. It's just great, man. It's a great feeling.
Just enjoyable, wasn't it? That's the thing that I think about when I think back. Just enjoyed every minute. The squads that we had, the people that you met, people at the club. It was just unbelievable to be at, wasn't it?
You remember Vicente? You remember much about him?
Yeah, Vicente, unbelievable.
Vicente was our king. You remember? We called him the king. Yeah. We had the throne for him. Where he would sit. I
just
prepared
players
the coffee
like that.
for him. Yeah. In our journees with the bus. Don't worry, don't move, Vicente. I'll take the coffee.
Really?
For you. Yeah, but it was like
when people ask me who was the best player you played with, Vicente was like
easy.
And a lot of people don't really know who he is properly. But obviously, he was unbelievable in Spain when he was in Valencia. Yeah. But obviously, over here, because when Brighton was in the Championship then, so I suppose as abroad, people don't really remember him that much. But that was just
He
something
liked
different.
you, you know. He liked you. He always spoke about you, Boquita, with like, you know, he just looked after you as well.
But if I made a run, I mean, somehow he got the ball to me. Do you know what I mean? Just them little passes, just something I've never seen. You don't see it in really like English players, them kind of things that he used to do. The slowest player I think I've ever played with, but just used to use his body to get past players and just crazy, really, wasn't it? How good he was.
I mean, your memory's insane of some things. I think I texted you about a goal, and I was trying to find, because it was the one time I was trying to find a goal of yours that you scored against Watford in 2012. And it was such an obscure memory. I couldn't even find a YouTube video of his goal. And I text you and I said, I'm trying to find a goal right now. And you just went, goal. Vicente you said he crossed it in, left foot, half foot volley, or something like that. I was just like, how would you even remember that? That's insane. And it's Vicente again.
Yeah. Who did you score against, like, top corner finish with your left foot?
That was against Blackpool.
Blackpool, we won 6-1.
Yeah. Blackpool, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was your first kick of the game, and you put it in the top corner with your left foot. Yeah.
So I don't even know how some of them things went in. Like just seemed to go in at Amex.
Very good goals.
Just swung my left foot.
Very good goals.
Firing in, unbelievable.
Yeah, that Blackpool game was good. You scored as well,
Andrea. Yeah, but you gave us something there.
I listened to Gus give you something.
Yeah,
perfect. Any regrets?
No. Well, playoff. That's it. Palace playoff.
Just don't mention it.
Literally, that is it.
Yeah, because the following season wasn't the same, really.
Yeah, I mean, we still end up getting to the playoffs again.
Yeah.
But the team seemed like it was nowhere near as good as the year before, but we still managed to get to the playoffs, which was a big. Well, that was the way we got to the playoff.
Forest
away. I mean, another unbelievable memory. Joe header. Like we probably shouldn't. We weren't that good that season. Somehow we scraped in, and then just didn't do anything in the playoffs. But like I said, the year before was the team and the time to get promoted, but it wasn't to be. Maybe this is why where Brighton are now. You never know, do you?
Yeah, absolutely. But the good thing, I still watch our games back sometimes. You know, I was telling you about a clip of Will. A game against Leeds that I sent to Calde. I said, you remember how quick Will Buckley was? Because he just took the ball in the halfway line, clipped it over the fullback.
That was such a good run.
And we were struggling to get there just to give him at least a chance.
That move was so effective.
You remember that one?
Yeah? I remember it. Yeah, 100%. I used to try and do it in school. I honestly, Will Buckley was my favourite player. So when I was growing up, I always wanted to play on the right wing to do exactly what you did, and I'd always try and because your composure in front of goal was different level. You would be in front of goal, 1-on-1 with the keeper. It could be the 90th. Normally, it was the 90th minute, and you just always sort of pass.
Because you see, as a relaxed and calm guy, you see, it's always like this thing with those skinny legs as well. You could run it.
I don't know how,
but that's it. So that's the model. I just wanted to do exactly that. I wanted to run through a bit of pace because I was quite small, so I was quicker, so I could get round. And if I was through a goal, I was thinking Will Buckley. I was thinking Will Buckley last minute. I think I found a stat: 70% of your goals, 75% of your goals that you scored at Brighton were scored in sort of the last 5 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I just think went through a spell where everything was like last 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, how?
I don't know. Maybe that was just the way we used to play as a team.
Yeah,
we used to like wear teams down. How big the pitch was at the Amex, the football we used to play, because when you used to play against a team that used to do what we used to do, you used to hate it. As an opposition player, people just passing. You think, just running side to side. I think maybe that last 10 minutes where we just passed them off the pitch, maybe that's why we used to get more chances at the end of the game, maybe.
Yeah. Cool. I think we're all good. Thank you both for joining me. It's been absolute pleasure. No, really, really good stuff. Thank you for coming down. Made the trip down, and obviously, you rearranged your whole week for me today.
It's good. I needed to get down.
Absolute legend for doing that. By the way.
See Brighton again. It's been good to be down.
Yeah,
see Andrea.
Yeah, finally.
10 years.
You're still looking great, aren't you?
The same.
No, not on the pitch though. Oh. It's better if we don't play anymore.
Yeah. We've had enough.
No, spot on. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll leave all the links and descriptions of all your work as well. Thank you for joining us again, and we'll see you whenever we see you again. Thank you.
Amigo.
I love that. That's fantastic.